This is the end of another news week, and I'm here to break it down for you. But before we get to that, UK had their GDP numbers released, and they came out worse than expected at negative 0.6%. This week, we had Swiss unemployment come out unchanged, midterm elections in the US, and we had CPI and unemployment numbers for the US, and of course, UK GDP. Looking ahead at next week, we have Australian monetary policy meeting minutes, as well as wage price index, US PPI and retail sales, pound and Canadian dollar CPI, and Australian unemployment rate. Now let's go ahead and check out some currency pairs in the EdgeFinder. All right, so here we are inside of the EdgeFinder, and I said in yesterday's video that I would check out a US dollar pair today, and I think it's only fitting that we look at a pound pair as well. Black Friday is finally here, and that means that we're rolling out new products and brand new updates to the EdgeFinder. We have our new looking gold page, as well as our newest feature, the Fed Tracker, that predicts interest rate forecasts as well as inflation forecasts, and has things like US dollar impact, stock market impact, and gold impact. So you have more data than ever before when it comes to your trading. We hope that you guys enjoy the update, and if you want the EdgeFinder for yourself, you can use code A1YT for a massive 40% discount this month only. If you missed any of this week's videos, make sure that you go back and watch them, because I go more in depth into the news, as well as check out currency pairs that are related to the news. So even though the news events have already happened, they're still affecting the currency pairs, and so you can go catch up on the news as I kind of break it down both news-wise and in the EdgeFinder. But I said that we're going to take a look at a dollar pair. And yesterday we took a look at our biggest sell of the day, which at that time was actually AUD NZD. We now have a new top sell, GBP NZD. So I think that I'm going to take a look at that when we take a look at our pound pair, because again, we did have GDP numbers for the pound come in today. And I said that I was going to look at a dollar pair today as well, and USD CAD happens to be our top buy of the day, so I think that works out perfectly. So we're going to take a look at USD CAD as well as GBP NZD. So starting off with USD CAD here in the breakdown page, and I'm going to move through these pretty quickly because we're going through two of them. We have an overall buy bias score of +5, and COT data comes out to a score of +1. Right down here in our sentiment section, we can see our COT data, or institutional trader data, and we can see that the US dollar is still very heavily favored long, 77.17% long and 22.83% short, whereas the Canadian dollar not so much, 40.68% long and 59.32% short. So institutional traders heavily favored long on the dollar and leaning towards a heavy favorite short on the Canadian dollar. Retail traders, retail sentiment here, 71% long and 29% short. So retail traders overall are fairly heavily long favored on this pair. That gives us a score of -1 here. Of course, if you have any questions about why we score the things the way that we do, our scanner output summary right here is a written summary explaining why we score these things the way that we do. So feel free to pause the video and read up on that if you have any questions about it. Seasonality has a score of +1, and we can look here at November. All-time average and last 5-year average is what I'm looking at going into December. Our last 5-year average, we see this pair drop. All-time, however, we see a very, very slight upward move. If we want to take a look at October to November, it's kind of the opposite. All-time average, October to November, we see an upward move. Whereas all-time average, we see a very, very slight downward move. So historically speaking, this pair could kind of trend either way. I mean, our all-time average is saying that it stays fairly consistent, but over the last 5 years, we see a spike upwards and then a spike back downwards. So in some instances, seasonality can be a great indication of which way this pair might trend. But as of right now, this one is looking a little bit uncertain at the moment. I mean, if we look here, like at June and July, we can see that our all-time average and last 5-year average match up pretty well. We can see current year average kind of lines up with the last 5-year average in some instances. So seasonality can be a pretty good tool when taking a look at historical data. Let's see, our trend reading is a score of +2, so that means that this market is definitely trending upwards. Our GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates comes out to scores of +1, -1, +1, and +1 again. We can take a look at our fundamental numbers right over here. US dollar 2.6% GDP growth compared to Canadian dollar 0.8% GDP growth. US dollar inflation 7.7% compared to Canada's inflation at 6.9%. US unemployment sits at 3.7% compared to 5.2% in Canada. And lastly, interest rates 4% for the US and 3.75% for Canada. All right, so that was a really quick look into this pair here in the EdgeFinder, our top buy of the day with a score of +5. And I said the other pair that we were going to take a look at was GBP NZD, which was our top sell, I believe a score of -8. Yes, -8. So here we are, GBP NZD breakdown page. Again, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly. Strong sell here, score of -8. COT data score of -1. We can take a look over here. Our New Zealand dollar COT data, or institutional trader data, comes out to 45.83% long and 54.17% short, compared to the pound, which sits at 30.47% long and 69.53% short. So institutional traders, neither of them super heavy favorites on the short side, but favorites on the short side nonetheless. Retail sentiment, kind of the same thing. Retail traders are 52% short and 48% long, so they are barely leaning towards the short side, but that is almost 50-50, and so that's giving us a score of 0 or a neutral score here because it's really not leaning one way or the other. Seasonality report, seasonality just comes out to a score of -1. And if we look here, we can actually see this is a better example of that seasonality kind of matching up with our historical data here. So our all-time average and last 5-year average is basically just showing downward moves for this pair ever since September. And if we look at October to November, where it finished in October to where it currently sits in November, that's a downward move. And the way that we're trending right now, if it continues to trend in this direction, it could drop even lower by the time we get to December, which is following in suit with this historical data, our all-time average and last 5-year average. And so that's why seasonality is an important thing to look at. And I find it so interesting because sometimes history just tends to repeat itself. And for this pair, at least, it seems like it does, as our historical data shows that this pair tends to drop in the later months of the year. And that is currently what it's doing. Trend reading score of -2, and that of course just means that this market is definitely trending downwards, and in fact we can see how much it's trending downwards here in our daily price chart along with our price forecast right here. Now I think would be a good time to mention, guys, that we are having our Black Friday sale on the EdgeFinder as well as everything else in our store. You can go to a1trading.com to look at all the different products in our store. Everything is 40% off, a massive 40% off discount on the EdgeFinder as well as everything else in the store when you use code A1YT at checkout. Again, there has never been a better time to get the EdgeFinder or any of our other products because this is the biggest sale that we have had all year. Our Black Friday sale, 40% off right now in the store. Use code A1YT for 40% off at checkout. All right, let's see. And then lastly, we're going to finish up with GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates all have scores of -1, and we can take a look at those numbers right over here. So again, if you're familiar with our products, the EdgeFinder, you know that this thing gets updated daily, and it usually gets updated very quickly. And in fact, in other videos that I did this week talking about US dollar pairs, by the time the news event came out to the time that I was recording the video, it had already updated in the EdgeFinder. We can see here that our GDP growth for the pound currently sits at 0.2%. We know that that was changed this morning to -0.6%, so it has not quite been updated yet. But by the end of the day, this will be updated, and that's why the EdgeFinder is such a useful tool, because the same day you're getting updated information, all of it in one spot for you. So it really is such a useful tool for traders to keep up with all the news and all the data possible. But anyway, moving right along, New Zealand GDP growth 1.7%. Unemployment for the UK sits at 3.5% compared to New Zealand's 3.3%. Inflation 10.1% compared to New Zealand's 7.2%. And lastly, interest rates 3% compared to 3.5%. Now we're going to hand it over to TraderNick with some analysis from today's live stream.
As the dollar came down hard and is still coming down, my dad called me this morning and he said, "Hey, Nick, where's the dollar going to?" And I said, "Hey, Dad, I don't know," because that thing is in free fall right now. The dollar is completely falling apart. And as we speak, again, we had a major level of support that just got broken here and seeming like it just has no bottom in sight. And here's the thing. My opinion on the dollar is officially not bearish, not bullish, but definitely just neutral. I'm not looking to short the US dollar, although I think that there are some things that are more favorable buys. In the short term, you really had this thing kind of fall apart on this upward trend, right? You had the beautiful upward momentum on the US dollar, and then the break point came in here at 110, falling apart, and now officially looking like it's probably headed back down to something like 104, 105. And that puts us all the way down over here in this area. Is that a rally point? Maybe, but this is getting into some higher time frame uptrend stuff if that's what you're into. But for me, as a little bit more of a short-term swing trader, this looks bearish in the short to mid-term for the dollar, in my personal opinion. You had these highs coming in and getting sold into. So as we come into today's market action, I am looking to be actually pretty much neutral to bearish on the dollar in the short term. Now, the dollar bullish case is not dead either. I'm not saying that the dollar won't rally back to the highs at some point. I'm just saying that for now, it looks bearish and it doesn't look like there's any strength coming in the short term. That's my take on it. Pound New Zealand was also another one we wanted to check on. If I could type GBP NZD. And let's see, we'll start fresh here with this one. So looking a lot like Euro NZD, and this one actually looking a little closer to cracking. Look at this. So nice overall downward trend on the 4-hour chart. And this seems to be cracking as we speak. Look at that. So you had, similar to Euro NZD, like a little bit of an upward trend trying here, and you're getting the trend line breakout here as we speak. So where's the trade on this one? Well, this one actually looks pretty attractive. Pound New Zealand on a retest here could look pretty attractive. Okay, so let's play around with this one. So Pound New Zealand on a retest of resistance. Stops would probably have to go above the highs for me, which is a 127 pip stop. That's kind of big. So you could tighten it up. Maybe we could take it. Let's see. Let's actually narrow in. We'll go lower time frame, even 1-hour chart. See what we can find. Tighten up the stop loss idea. So stop loss above here makes sense to me. So you kind of have this point here. This was the sell-off point, right? So we probably wouldn't want to see price take out that high. And if it does, I'd be out of the trade, right? So let's say price swings back and we get that entry, right? We're in the sell, stops go above here. Let me say this is our point to go ahead and close the trade if that trade doesn't work out. If it does work out, where are we headed? Where could we be headed? Well, let's see. One idea. You have this area here, you have support down here, and you have support down here. So at the very least here, even if you were just putting a take profit there, that's a 1.4 to 1. And a movement back down to the previous low is a 3 to 1. So I don't hate this. I like Pound New Zealand on the short side here, putting in those lower highs as well, right? So I like it. A Pound New Zealand, again, comes up on the EdgeFinder pretty well. It's actually our #1 sell rated currency pair right now. Let's go look at minor currency pairs. We'll pull up Pound New Zealand, get a full look at this thing. And again, this is what we do every day. This is what we do on stream every single day. We combine the EdgeFinder, we look for technical setups, and then sometimes we execute straight on stream. And if I don't do it straight on stream, I share it inside of our Discord channel, which now is a good time to show you that. So if you're not already in our Discord channel, all of my trades go in here. If you want to see the trades that I'm taking, as well as our other top traders inside of our group, you can just you can go through here. You can look at Frank's trades, my trades, whatever I'm picking up, right?
Make sure you guys check out the links in the description if you need broker recommendations, access to our free Discord, or want to chat with us on Telegram. If you're interested in our trading software, the EdgeFinder, you can find that in the description as well. Thanks for watching.